All right, everybody, good evening. Today is June 17th, 2025, the Mills County Zoning Board of Adjustment. Can we get a roll call, please?
Collins.
Here.
Skolka.
Here.
Light.
Here.
Warren. Here. Donovan. Here.
Thank you. Can I get a review, action, and approval of the current meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by.
I'll second.
Thank you. Can I get a review, action, and approval of the previous meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Second.
All right, okay. Tonight's new business is a discussion and formal action on conditional use permit application 25-04 for a personal service use of a chiropractic massage therapy and yoga at the property at 27816 Paddock Avenue, Malvern, in the Rawls Township in the AR zoning district. So that's agricultural residential zoning district. If the applicant's ready, you can please come up to the podium and have your presentation.
Hi, I'm Shimani Lynn Jones, and I don't have really a presentation other than I brought some services and just chiropractic, massage, and yoga therapy. Holistic, and so I've been teaching yoga for probably 27 years, mainly to kids, and the specialty is also for cancer and cardiac patients and for pain care management. And so it's more one-on-one medical yoga therapy with adults or people with cancer. So it's not like a large group of people. I guess that's not my style. Although at times I do teach kid yoga, which can be 10, 12 in a group. And then so for the massage, it's basic things like the Swedish massage. And then I'm a nationally board certified massage therapist, chiropractic assistant, active. So along with my husband, it's a licensed chiropractor. So I would be doing things that I've been doing already for decades, which would do pregnancy massage, just hot stone massage and things like that. Doing there, and it's a lovely area. Going along with yoga, meditation, and guided imagery practice, it's going to go really great because it's pretty useful, but I think it'll give people a place to come and get in touch with nature.
Okay. Well, thank you. At this time, if there's any public comments, please come up to the podium and state your name and any comment that you may have. Okay, doesn't appear that there's any public comment. Was there any letters or anything? There's no letters or anything. Okay. If we could hear the staff report, that would be great.
The staff recommendation on this one would be to approve the application for the conditional use for personal services, chiropractic, massage, and yoga with the following conditions. Hours of operation is limited to Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yoga classes would be limited to 15 individuals. The facility, if this happens to move indoors to any of the buildings on the property, they would need to be reviewed by an engineer to make sure that they meet Mills County building codes. Number 4 is that the septic system be reviewed to meet the local environmental health. Make sure that it meets the demands of the condition. This is based on the following findings of fact. Personal services is a listed conditional use in the Mills County zoning ordinance, which is adopted in conjunction with the land use plan. The above conditions will limit the impact of neighboring properties, and that the traffic usage for this is minimal impact to the.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, at this time, we're gonna go into board discussion. It appears that this fits the matrix. There's nobody here to speak in oppose of it. Only question I would have, and I'm assuming this fits with the number three, the facility will need to be reviewed by an engineer, ensure that meets Mills County Building Code would be for exits, anything like that. Is that what that would mean?
Right, fire, let's see.
All the safety issues and stuff like that, okay? I don't see any issue with it at all. I don't know if the board has any additional.
So Matt, confused me when you said, should the services move inside? So are your services, there you are your services outside now or?
So right now, I haven't been doing them. I mean, I'm also a school teacher, so I do things in the school and I do things, around. But, and it is nice right now. I would definitely want to do it inside in December. So, or if it's raining, if it's summer and the weather is nice, it's preferred to do it outside, preferable to do the yoga outside, maybe massage, but definitely inside.
So is it safe to say it could be either inside or outside?
Yeah,
Is that follow all of the conditions? There's,
Yeah, it would just, space, if it's one-on-one yoga where you take somebody in the house to do it, it's one thing. It's another thing if you're gonna bring 15 individuals and put them in one space. We just wanna make sure that fire code wise, can they get out of it? In the event. something
and you,
happens.
I'm sorry, Matt, and can you come back to the podium, please?
yeah, sorry.
Okay, so you understand that if you're gonna have 15 people in your facility, that the Mills County engineer or building inspector, whoever it may be, is gonna review it and say, okay, you may need additional doors, additional
Right, okay.
fire alarms, something like that.
Well, it would be, just correct, it would be there, they would go get. an
You
engineer.
would have to hire an engineer to meet our
So
codes.
I need to do that. I need to
They
do
would do a
that.
floor plan of it, and they call it a code path sheet to it. So they would do the floor plan of whatever space you're gonna do, and then they'll lay out the code path for it. Stating, maybe you just have a single door right now that swings in, right? Well, they may tell you that, hey, you have to put in a double door that swings out.
Okay.
So,
Safety.
Okay, will these things be in writing or should I
Yes,
just notes?
they'll be all ready for it.
I just want to make sure you understand it. Okay, thank you.
As per the zoning officials' recommendation, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve by Pat, with, the board with the staff recommendations.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Pat and a second by Jenny. Can I get roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Donovan. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank
you'll receive something from the zoning board of adjustment in the mail in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it takes about, well, if you come in and sign, otherwise. it'll come up.
Okay.
So would I be able to, I have held up, would I be able to advertise for future, like in a month from now, or should I wait?
Sorry. I can email you a copy of it.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hope I see you guys in class.
Okay, the second item of new business will be the discussion and formal action of zoning variance permit application 25-05 for the proposed variance in the rear setback for the construction of a residential accessory structure at the property addressed 58268 Kid Road, Glenwood in Glenwood Township. It's in the AR residential zoning district. If the applicant's ready, you can come up and your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I actually wrote. So Deb and I, my wife Deb, are here tonight for your review of our request for a 10-foot easement from the back of our property in order to construct a new utility shed, which will replace a building which has been near our neighbor's property line since we moved to Kid Road in 1992. We've had no issues with any of our neighbors on any of our boundary lines, including this west line, during that time. A couple of old wooden fence posts that were there before we moved in 33 years ago that have been serving as that line. But since we wanted to replace the old building with the new structure, we had our entire property surveyed, and the fence posts were actually pretty close to the boundary that they came up with. So in order to conform to county regulations, meet our specifications for our new structure and avoid running into our current septic tank, we are requesting a 10-foot easement. New utility shed at 30 by 40 feet would be slightly larger than the old building, which was 30 by 20. The peak height of 18 feet would be slightly higher than the 16 feet of the former shed. So really not a lot of difference, just newer and a different setback. So 33 years ago, it's for more than 33 years, it's at 24 inches from our property line. And we're asking or requesting for a 10-foot easement. And that would solve a lot of the issues for us with the septic tank and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll move into public comment. If there's any public comment on this. Is there any written letters or anything? Okay, thank you. And we will now move into staff report, please.
The staff recommendation would be to approve the application for the variance based on the following findings of fact. The topography of the site, the placement of septic for the dwelling, unnecessary hardship to move locations. The property owners are requesting the variance prior to starting the replacement process. And the reduction in the setback will not affect the neighboring properties, air, light, access, or which the setback.
Oh, thank you. Well, would say that they're asking for not even quite half of the 50%. They're asking for 10 feet, correct? Right. So, versus 12 and a half, I think. Well, we have these come up almost 5 or 6 times a year, and it's pretty tough. Once we've opened up the can of variances to not allow them. So I think that fits the category well enough.
Right now, yeah, the state law is changing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too, the practical difficulty aspect versus having to prove a hardship for it. And so practical difficulties aren't necessarily defined out. So if they were to come in next month, we wouldn't even necessarily be looking at is this an actual hardship or not. That's why I went with the approval.
Gotcha.
Because if they come in next month.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think septic could become hardship.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I understand it right, at one time you had a building that was 24 inches away from it.
The existing is 24 inches.
Gotcha. Okay. So is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ted,
Seconded.
and we have a second by Pat. So we have a motion by Ted to approve per staff recommendations. And a second by Ted. Can I get a roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Volka.
Yes.
Light,
Yes?
Warren. Yes. Gentlemen. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You'll receive something also from
Thank you.
you bet. Have a great day.
Left, yeah.
What? No, it's. Maybe that's what it is. Pool break or something? You are really. You're being serious.
I know.
All right, and the third item up for business would be the discussion and formal action on zoning variance permit application 25-06 for the proposed variance of the front setback for the construction of mini storage units at the property address at 26763 US Highway 34, Glenwood, and Center Township within the commercial highway oriented zoning district. If the applicant is ready, we're ready for your presentation.
Hello there, Henry Clark, Glenwood, Iowa. My wife Sandy Geiger on Clark Store down Highway 34, 75 currently along the fence line along 34, we park our park. What I'd like to do is move them out. And then if you've ever seen them, we have beige colored cargo containers. Want to put some new, brand new. They're cleaner than brand new out inside. In order to maintain my driveway, I can only use about 1 foot setback. Still maintained. If I move too far and there's not enough room to drive other cars. From a safety standpoint, that spot sits 10 to 15 foot above 34. Okay, so from a crash standpoint, they'd have to go through the side ditch and up the hill. From a view standpoint, our entrance on our property is at the other end of the property, so it wouldn't block the view one way or the other. Or you're up the highway, there's no turn there, so it would block the view there. They're all the same color. Sometimes instead of a beige actually matches our storage units also. It's the same color. Sometimes they come in gray. If I need to, I can paint the back beige, so it's the same color. There's a security fence, and they would be. So again, the only reason I'm asking is I don't have the room to move forward, and I can't remember if it's 10 foot or 20 foot, 25 foot, and still maintain the road. So, but that's really it. Got any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, we'll move into public comment. If there's any public comment on this. Is there any written response? Okay. Can I have the staff report, please? Can we have the staff report? I'm sorry.
Staff recommendation on this is to approve the application for the variance with the following condition. And that is that the containers would all be painted a neutral continuous color. It's based on the following findings of fact. Number one, the topography of the site is elevated from the roadway. This would improve the site by eliminating the parking and storage of vehicles along the fencing. The owners of the property are requesting a variance prior to starting the replacement to ensure compliance and reduction in setbacks will not affect the property that otherwise look towards setbacks.
Can I add one more thing? This is personal property, it's not real property. What I mean by that is not fixed to your house.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, stored.
Or is that let's expand it. Henry, move your garden.
Discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Question, what is the actual amount? It says applicant is requesting a 24-foot front yard setback. That's the normal setback, and we can go 50% of that. So what are the numbers here? What am I missing?
So he wants to go all the way down to a 1 foot setback. So he's requesting a 24-foot variance in that distance.
So what's the normal setback?
25.
And he wants to go 24. I thought we couldn't go more than 50%. And all the other ones we did, we couldn't go more than 50%. Or the one we just did last meeting, we had the garage. You wanted to do with the trees, we couldn't go more than 50% there.
On the one with the garage with the trees, that was their request on that one.
Well, what am I missing here? I thought that the zoning law says the variance, you can only do 50% reduction in setback.
Yeah, there is some.
Am I off track here, board members?
And you even just said on the other. It says right there.
sorry.
And look, it's different. Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, how can we approve that if it's not allowed?
Well, and I understand what you're saying, Pat, we can talk about that here in a second. I want to get my topography or my layout correctly. On this map, Henry, could you come up here real quick and just show me where these containers are going? Because I think, well, this is gonna be a mute point possibly.
So here's the 34 highway.
Alright.
All these will be taken
South.
out. These are there, but they're gone.
So is your container gonna be right here?
It'll start.
Exceed 50% limitation.
About where the cars are?
Right there, yeah, before the car a little bit. Right where my fingernail is.
Like right here?
Right there.
Well, that's where the cars are.
Yeah,
And it's going this way, not that way.
yeah.
It's not going this way.
No, it's in now here.
So you're doing something like this.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So where your cars are now, because they're movable, can sit there.
Correct.
And a container
Is.
is movable. So,
Anywhere else, that's why I brought up that they're personal.
no, I understand. It's not, it doesn't have a footing and it's not, to me, that is how it could go there.
So the 24 feet is going to the north?
They're sitting where the cars are now, which would be, this is a great picture if you look at this.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to see where you're drawing. You're
So-
going on the north side.
Yes. Yeah, that is north, yes. Where the blue line is, where the
Mhm.
cars are now. Is now gonna become a container. It's right on the property line out of the county easement is what I'm assuming. And the reason why, in my opinion, they could be put there is because of the movable, it's something that you put on a hook truck and pull up.
Right.
Right.
I guess I don't see any difference in the cars that or the containers.
Well, I think it's gonna look a lot better with the container sitting there versus the
I
car.
agree with that. But I mean, I'm just
But
talking
if,
about.
if it was a shed, it couldn't go there. That's the way I would read it with your 12.5 foot on a 25 foot setback.
It says right here, the zoning board of adjustment may permit exceptions to any setback. Such exception does not exceed 50% of the particular requirement. Particular limitation or number in question.
Matt, was he in violation by having these cars parked there in that spot before?
No, not.
Cause then the containers would be the same thing as the cars.
Well, when he puts all those containers down, we do make him get a permit to put all those containers down, so we're permitting it as a structure being there. They're not, you're right, they're not tied down to the ground, but,
I guess what I'm saying is,
I'd be leery about placing them there saying, well, it's not necessarily something that structure where we're not gonna grant a permit to it, because then you're gonna wind up with them all over there.
well, I guess what I'm looking at is
I
these
follow what you're saying.
containers are not exceeding any closer to 34th than the cars would. They're not any closer to 34 than what these cars are sitting there right now.
Right,
So what difference does it make? I mean, I can't see any reason not to approve it, is what I'm saying.
So you're saying the cars are already past the setback, the existing setback?
well, your cars don't have a setback on, right? They can park in that, cause it's.
Then right away, they
Cause
can
it's
park in
parking,
right.
cause they're, cars meant to be on wheels, you can start it up and go, take off with it. The containers, a little bit different scenario.
Yeah, I understand where your tricky part is everybody putting them all over their yards everywhere.
Right,
Mhm.
which you don't, and so, cause like even if you were to set a shed there, right, you still have to meet that setback distance to it, so containers really not gonna be the difference if you're gonna set a shed or a building there. But you can park a car, sure. But yeah, that was you caught that 50% mark on there, I did not see that, so.
I don't know how we can do that. If we do, we open up Pandora's box. Everybody's gonna come up, well, you already give him a setback. More than 50%, we want it too.
Especially if you have a permit process where he's gonna have to apply for a permit and say that it's some sort of a structure when it's really not. How could you approve that?
What is the permit that he gets for that, so they can be taxed? No, is it, what's the reasoning why that we get he has to apply for a permit to put those there?
So on a building permit, right, every 200 square feet, apply for one, it's just gotta be zoning setbacks on there. When he goes to set these down, they're all set right next to one another, so it becomes one structure.
But still, that structure would be well past 50%. If we approve it like this.
Limitation.
Yeah, I don't think we wanna cross that 50% mark.
I think we should approve it for 12.5 feet and then we're covered. We're given the 50%. We're not making new ground. For more conflict later.
I agree.
Can I throw out a thought on this?
What?
Can I throw out a thought on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, this is personal property, which means it's not real property. It's not a building. I do have to do a building permit. That's more for what are you doing, dirt work, what are you putting there, okay? I would actually contest me doing a building permit for car containers, yeah? So I would look at that and see if y'all can get to that point, and if not, hey, no, Henry, it's a building. Okay, now, is it only doable in a commercial setting? Oh, nope, we got a problem with the house here in town or out in the country. I'll leave y'all to that. Y'all know that once you open the door, it's open. You know, this is different. I would ask y'all to make that consideration.
I mean, it does become a structure. It's really no different than when you go to your premier sheds or whatever, you get a premier shed, you're gonna place it on your property, I mean, it's a structure. Even though it's a prefab construction, right, it's already done, you didn't put a nail in the thing. When it gets set down on your property, it is a building permit, gets placed there. So,
Okay.
I still don't think that's valid. What's that setback right now on this map from the right of way of 34? Is that the blue line? Is that where the setback is?
No, that blue
That's a-
line is,
That's his property line, the rest is the county. So
So
you're 12.5 feet in, Pat, is where you'd want to be, is what you're saying.
it's what I think we should do, yeah. I mean, if you take it, and move it 24 feet, you're got a 1 foot setback, right?
My question is why?
Why what?
The cars are sitting there now.
So they can set in the right of way. I say
So-
keep the setback here, and if he wants to go up in front of that setback, then
I don't think
he's liable and we aren't. Or we aren't liable.
I don't think you can cross that 50%.
He's parking in front of that line and no one's causing any issues. Park in front of the 12.5 foot line. Someone comes back and sues the county, they can't. We did not break our zoning laws.
Yeah, I can see both, every side of it. I can see the side of, yeah, we've always been 50%. We've never varied from that. I can also see the fact that there's cars there now, but you're telling me, if you put tough sheds there, that would be a structure. I can understand that these storage units would be a structure.
You can slap wheels on them, put a license plate on there, ball heads, and then you can park it
Yeah,
there. That's the whole.
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Can you put the storage sheds or the Connex boxes on the property line on one of the other sides of your property, and by adjusting everything that's around on there, be able to accomplish the same thing?
The simple answer, physical is yes. The economic is no. On this side, it's built for 20-foot parking. On the other side, it's built for 40-foot parking. So, physically,
What about if you build it along the south side?
That's actually, on the south side, it's 40-foot
Okay.
parking.
Well, we can do two things, guys. We can, more than likely, we could either table it, so you would have time to maybe readjust a map if you would like to. Or two, we'd have to stick to the 50% rule.
I don't see where we have a choice. We have to follow the law, the zoning in our county. It's gray area, we gotta follow the law.
And does this requirement of the 50% reduction in the commercial area to the commercial highway?
It's in all of them.
It's in all of them? Okay. I just,
So I would make the motion that we allow a setback of 12.5 feet. And with the conditions of our zoning official map.
okay, we have a motion from Pat to, let me get on the right. To allow a 12.5 foot.
Excuse me,
setback.
excuse me,
50%, right? That's 50%.
Yep.
Okay.
excuse me. Did you, I apologize, sir. Did
Sorry.
you make a motion for 1 foot and vote on that?
Yes.
If you don't mind, just make a motion on the 1 foot and you vote again.
Oh, if you want
Do you,
basically move to a 24 foot. You want a 1 foot setback instead of 25.
I'd like y'all to vote on 1 foot setback.
I would make a motion that we don't approve it then, if that's what you want.
That's fine.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Pat to not approve the 24 foot. setback. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Jenny. Can I get a roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Polka,
No,
Like,
Yes.
Warren. Yes. Gentlemen. Yes.
Again, thank you very much for your time and consideration.
That's gonna move us out of that one. Look for my feet. We'll have its conclusion.
Other business.
sure.
That's it.
No,
Collins, agenda's on top. You gotta go to this. In the right page, right here. Here you go.
so. Is there any other business at this time?
So I have two things for other business tonight. The first one in your package, we talked a little bit about this, is the state of Iowa has made some code changes at their level. We'll also make some changes here to make sure that we're in line with what they're saying. And in your zoning board of adjustment, ordinance section in chapter, the zoning ordinance here, it says right now that you have to have a hardship in order to be able to grant a variance. They changed that language now to be practical difficulty. And there is no Iowa case law on that yet. I did check with county attorney's office down here. John did a little search. So I found some documents in here. The top one comes out of the state of New York. But it does try to describe out the difference between a hardship and a practical difficulty. And I think we'll just have to be somewhat cautious as we approach these in the meetings to make sure that we're just kind of trying to stay somewhat consistent with them as they come in and request their variances on what is a practical difficulty, because we're going to be setting that out down here as long as every other county in the state is going to be setting it out when they go to their adjustment meetings. And then I don't know if you guys are all thrilled with ChatGPT or not, but there's an AI version of what unnecessary hardship would mean in their practical difficulties as well. It's kind of like the second 2 pages to that. Just to kind of give you some examples of what we could potentially be looking at as we're trying to figure out what constitutes a practical difficulty.
Well, I understand exactly where you're at. 'Cause I mean, to me, I'd rather see containers like us.
Yeah.
I mean, that would look better, but looking at, Elmer Fudd or somebody coming in and throwing 70 of those against his property line somewhere in Pony Creek or wherever, it would be a Park Place edition, any.
And then the second thing is that the Board of Supervisors has been receiving some complaints about the landfill out there on Highway 34. And in reviewing the documents from so the existing landfill predates zoning. It's grandfathered to what it is, right? DNR is regulating that through their permit process that they have. But we issued a conditional use permit to them on the expansion to the east side there. In that documentation, it said that the zoning board of adjustment was going to have them come back in 1 year's time to kind of review where they were at on that process. And that, with the staff changes that were going on, that got missed. So I think that was in 2020, the permit got granted. In 2021, it was supposed to be a review, or maybe it was 21.
Yeah.
It's been done in years.
Yeah, so I would just like to make sure that you guys are okay. I'm gonna formally request that the zoning board of adjustment is asking them to come back in and give us an update on where they're at, so we can review their conditional use permit with them. Make sure that it is still on alignment to what is needed. I would like to kind of use that chance with them to say that we need some better management on the side that you have going there to address some of these complaints, which it sounds like, they have worked in the past to address some of those complaints. to make sure that we're good and still moving ahead with this conditional use permit that they have. I mean, they have the conditional use permit. It would take board action from you all to revoke that conditional use permit from them. But you do have the opportunity for oversight there to say, have you come back in and get some things out.
I remember that meeting well, and those were pretty specific conditions that they had to do.
I think it was
So
when they were trying to.
we'll have that all documented, right, Aubrey?
Yeah, it was.
As much as we can from the records that we have. Yeah, we'll have all of the conditions that we're aligned, we will have that all set out. But the follow-up to those things is where we're kind of stuck at.
So do we want to set a meeting now, or is this something you're gonna approach and let us know?
So I'm gonna try to get them to come in for the July meeting. If they tell me for whatever reason they can't be here for the July meeting, then I think August is about as far out as we're gonna be willing. They need to get in here when we ask them to, because I want them to make sure that they know you all are the authority on that conditional use permit. So it's, if you guys ask them to come back in, then they need to come back in.
Is there a moment for public input?
How about we do it after this meeting, since it wasn't on the agenda?
So Aubrey,
Um,
Audrey, I'm sorry, would the
Okay.
July meeting be on the 15th then, if we have one? That's the third Tuesday.
Yes.
and
Okay.
I know for a fact I'll be put on that. But I would also have to recuse myself on that anyway, because we're, currently have a big contract at the landfill.
Oh, you would, then, yes.
So, so I'm just letting you know that me not being here, I can still run the meeting from us. I'll be in Fargo, North Dakota. I can run it. I just won't be able to vote and put particulars on it.
Do you have any others that are right now in pending?
We
One.
do have one.
So we're gonna have a meeting next month.
Okay, so is there any other business? Okay, so at this time, is there a motion to be adjourned?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Ted, and second by?
I'll second it.
By Jenny. Okay, Jenny slash. Okay, now let's give Henry a few